Meeting to order. It is 4:32. I want to welcome everybody. The first order of business after the call to order is the roll call.
Yes. McDonald?
Here.
Pearson's excused. Craigfield?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Helps is excused. Van Portfleet?
Here.
Burnett? Becoming late. Flood?
Here.
Payne is excused. Waffle? Here. Borjo is excused.
Okay. We have a quorum, and every community is represented, so we can move forward with that in mind. We have a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The board has received an agenda for this evening. It's been amended. Lynn passed out the amended agenda, or the agenda that I want to refer to, which added item C under 11. Any desire to adopt that agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. Motion by member Brakefield, supported by member Van Portfleet. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, motion carries. Board received the minutes from the June 16th meeting, which was our regular meeting. Any questions, changes, or corrections?
There's two sets.
Yeah, do we want to do them both at
Okay.
the same time, or we'll just do the first set and then the second set? Are there any questions, changes, or corrections on the minutes from June 16th, which was the regular meeting?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from June the 16th. Support.
Okay. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, those are approved. Meeting minutes from June 27th. Are there any questions?
Move to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of approving the minutes of June 27th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay. Moving on then to closed session. We're here to meet with the attorney in regards to the lawsuit for two former drivers. Motion for going into closed session for attorney-client privilege. Okay, we have a motion and a support. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Note that it is unanimous. I'm looking for a motion from the board to leave closed session and go into open session at this time.
So moved.
Mr. Van Portfleet?
Second.
Mr. Brakefield? Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Please mark it as unanimous approval.
Now, there's no more conversation about what was in closed
No,
session.
no, and we are taking no action.
I'm just saying that for everybody's benefit.
Right.
And we are not taking any action on the matter that we went into closed session for.
You and I can talk outside
Right.
to
So,
ourselves.
now, it's our director's opportunity to brief us.
Oh, but the
Director's
financial?
report?
Oh, the structure. Sorry.
Moving right along.
Yeah,
Come on in and
so-
sit down, Jim.
Yeah,
You make
come on
me
in, take a
nervous.
seat. Yeah. Take-
My apologies, I didn't see you.
No, not at all.
Good, how are you? Good.
So our rides
Yes,
for
wanna get you
June
close to me.
were 3,461, in July were 3,174, and we are about 13% up from last year's numbers. The trolley's still been down for repairs, hopefully back this weekend. The artwork for Live, the sponsor, was turned down from SMART because it doesn't allow for federal-funded vehicles to have ads related to their business. Kelly from the DDA is looking into purchasing the trolley outright and still have NODA run it. I did get married to Jay in July, and my new last name is Gromoski.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. It's been a busy summer. I'm just really grateful that the NODA millage was passed by all 3 communities with such an impressive numbers this August. It's about 70% for all 3 communities as far as their approval, which is amazing. I'm really relieved that we were able to get it passed because I knew there was talk of an Oakland County millage and an RTA coming up as well. I didn't want ours to get confused. However, I didn't realize how soon the Oakland County was going to pass it after we got ours passed. And Oakland County will now be on the ballot in November of '22. I have included a lot of the ballot information in the packet, but the millage is asking voters for 0.95 mils for 10 years to replace the SMART millage and can replace the NODA and OPC millage as well.
By that, do you, pardon the interruption, but do you mean that the language of the ballot would eliminate those millages if it passes? Or is that something other than that?
I think it's worded that it can replace NODA
Okay.
in that. So it's up to the board to say whether they want
Okay.
to, which,
Which board?
our NODA board can choose to say, hey, we want to have it replace it, so they're not double taxed. So, I've been speaking with Mike Gingell, and he's explaining that the numbers are there in Oakland County for this millage to pass. Without doubt is what he said. The RTA millage almost passed last time, and this millage is better than the RTA because it's giving dollars for service in our area. The first plan was giving NODA 1.6 million and $2 million to WODA and $1 million to OPC of the total $66 million plan. I asked Mike to ask for $2 million for NODA, just like WODA, which he did, and they did agree to it. They also agreed to allow NODA the right of first refusal to run the fixed route on Lapeer Road to Oxford Meyer. If we did this, it would give NODA an additional $760,000. Mike also negotiated that NODA would have the right of first refusal to run the North Oakland area for an additional $1.6 million to handle the townships such as Holly, Groveland, Rose, Springfield, Brandon, and Independence. I understand this is a tax increase and that many in our area definitely disagree with it. And I totally understand that since I'm conservative as well. However, the transportation in Oakland County isn't meeting the needs of everyone, and the borders are barriers for people to get where they need to go, and I believe that change does need to happen. I hear the needs of our residents daily that can't get to where they need to go. This plan is better than the previous plans, especially the RTA one, and if it is inevitable to occur, which I'm not sure is, I think that we should be fighting to get as much of the taxpayer money to stay in our communities to make the system better. I trust that NODA to be a good steward of those dollars versus giving it to SMART because NODA will hold the control. I've included a spreadsheet showing this expected tax revenue created from our 3 townships would be $3.1 million. If they give NODA $2 million and an expansion of $760,000 for the fixed route, then 88% of the revenue collected will go back to the residents directly. There's also an opportunity to receive an additional 1.6 to run the other North Oakland townships should the NODA board decide they want to pursue that. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I think if we discuss and plan for this, I think we'll be better ready for this happening this December tax roll. The plans for the site plan have been submitted to the village, and there have been some issues that are currently being worked on with the engineer, and Jim Sharp is here, thankfully, to discuss those issues tonight. Diane Brett Landscaping finished the landscaping outside. I think he did a great job. We also have our flag hanging as of yesterday. We're waiting to have a flag ceremony with the paper for memorial dedication for Mrs. Curtis sometime in September. We need to schedule a truth and taxation budget hearing, and I was hoping the beginning of September, possibly September 1st, if that's available for everybody, which is also on the agenda. Our next regular board meeting is September 15th.
Thank you, Lynn. Anybody want to take a quick look at their calendars to see what September 1st looks like for them?
We have that on the agenda. later on to discuss.
Oh, okay. Oh, my apologies. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't thinking. Okay. Okay. Any comments from the board? Mike?
We'll move to approve the receipt and file the director's report, excellent report.
As second for that excellent report. Thank you. All in favor of the motion to receive and file the director's report, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Motion carried. Public comments. Mr. Sharp's here on business. Seeing no other, you don't have any public comments?
I do not, Mr.
Okay.
McDonald.
Other than that you appreciate our efforts.
Absolutely.
Right. No, thank you very much. Okay, moving on then to approval of financial activity. You have the financial activity for the last 2 months, June and July. Is there a motion to receive and file that activity?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to receive and file the financial activity, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Approval of bills. I don't have the number in front of me.
Mr. Chairman, I got the numbers here.
Thank you, Mr. Flood.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the June bills of $19,369.41 and the July bills of $21,587.16 for a total of $132,150.53.
Is there a second?
Wait a minute. What was the bills again?
Right there.
Okay, 19, okay. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none, could we have a roll call in, please?
McDonald?
Yes.
Wakefield?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Van Portfleet?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Waffle? Yes. Okay.
Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, under old business, we have none. Under new business, the Oakland County Transportation.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Old business, 10A.
10A is, oh, you must have an old one.
Oh, yeah, I didn't look at the new one. I'm sorry. My apologies, everybody. That's why Jim's here. Sorry, Jim. Okay, we have site plan review discussion. As you heard from Lynn, we received feedback from the village with a request for some changes to our proposed site plan, and I guess they needed a little bit more information that we didn't include. Topographical, was it, or depths? It seemed like there was on one
No,
of them.
actually, the topographical survey was fine. As you know, sorry, my name is Jim Sharp. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a local engineer here and hired by you guys to do a parking lot expansion out back. Because the site hasn't, it's existed for so long, this is the community's time to kind of, let's say, bring it up, closer to codes nowadays. So we submitted the plan based on some discussions that I had had with Lynn, and they came back with a series of comments. They being McKenna, their planner, and Rowe, the engineer for the village of Oxford. The biggest concerns to me is they came back and they want us to curb the entire parking lot. Obviously, that's a significant cost to be able to, to have to go through and curb the entire parking lot. They want us to provide for stormwater detention. There's no stormwater detention on this site right now. You'd have a couple of catch basins and the pipes run out to the street, but they want us to provide for stormwater detention on that. They want a landscaping plan, which I'm sure Mr. Flood, a lot of you are familiar with, a full landscaping plan of the site. They want a photometric plan of the site showing existing lights. We weren't proposing any new lights, any new light poles in the parking lot. Maybe we should. It wasn't discussed at the time, but they are requesting for a photometric plan. They're asking for a sidewalk along the frontage of the property here, which none of the other properties on the west side of the street have sidewalk. The sidewalk's over on the east side. But again, it's probably something that is in their ordinance that says that they, want sidewalk to be added. Let's see, were there some other things? One of the big items was the additional parking. Via the parking requirements, we only need about 39 spaces here, and the new parking lot is 95 spaces. Obviously, a lot of it is for the for the vehicles that are being driven around. So your drivers come in, they park their vehicles in one spot, they get in the other vehicles and drive around. So I think that might have to be just a letter addressing why we need the additional parking in here. There were some other minor comments that were in there that I feel that can be addressed, but those are the major items. And, before we go down that path and spend the time revising the plans to meet these concerns, I guess, what is this board's feeling as far as trying to argue some of these points, or just proceed down the path and approve everything that, redesign everything as they have requested? So that's really the reason for my being here today, just to kind of get some input from this body right here as to how you want to proceed.
Lynn, had you given any thought to these points from Jim? Like from the planning commission point of view, they need why we need the additional parking, and I think we're going to address that because we got 20-some employees plus dispatchers, including dispatchers, so double that's 40, and we're almost at capacity right there. So
Right, and then if we do an expansion, potentially with this.
and you have employees next door, et cetera. Mr. Curtis.
You have additional parking, which has now kicked in another item for them, meaning non-pervious soil to take the water. To Jim's comment, the plan contains no grading information. A proposed grading plan shall be provided indicating on how the new paved service will be constructed to ensure proper drainage on site, as well as consider the impact on adjoining properties. They're not asking for a detention pond. They want a draining plan with all this asphalt to make sure that your water doesn't leave the property. So if you need the new parking, you need to do a drainage plan.
Right.
If you need the new parking, you need the curb, because that's in their ordinance. So with all this new parking, you're causing several concerns to kick in for them.
So to address that, the stormwater retention question, Jim, we can reduce the number of spaces. I mean, this is what I see. We either reduce the number of parking spaces and convert it to a retention area, or we bury a 30,000 gallon
Some kind of
reservoir.
We can do some pipes underground. We'd have to calculate
What-
that.
Yeah.
What's indicated now is you have stormwater management manholes out here. And what the grading plan does is it shows that he has a calculation that can tell you how much water goes to that. If the calculation shows that you need a detention pond, or the calculation shows that the stormwater management system you have will work, then you're fine.
Such as in those calculations, if you might add another, and I'm not sure what the correct term is, but like a weeping well or whatever, then you may not need a full detention basin,
Right.
because you've got another spot where it can be collected according to the grade.
They have a different stormwater detention in the village than they have in the township, because they have stormwater management here in the village. They want to make sure that your grading plan says you can take care of all of it. And now that we're adding parking, does your grading plan address that water?
And in the past, there's been storm water deposited into the sewer. I believe I read in Joe Medora's letter.
Stormwater sewer,
Right.
not sanitary.
And so it says here too that it could be extended accordingly.
Correct.
So that could go into those calculations to help satisfy the need without doing a retention basin.
What he's saying is he needs to see your grading plan
Right.
to the one manhole you have, If your grading plan shows that that won't handle it on the stormwater calculation, you may need another manhole to this manhole to the stormwater management manhole, correct?
Accurate?
In a nutshell, I mean, that's what Jack's getting at. And we do have a grading plan. We didn't submit it as part of that because usually that's part of engineering because there's another step after the site plan. So we do have a grading plan put together. On the site plan, we just indicated some general flow characteristics. So we know how the site wants to lay out, so doing the grading plan isn't a problem. Yeah, Jack, were you looking at note number 2 of the?
I'm looking at note number 5 on the row engineering
If you look at
report
note number 2
from,
of the row engineering plan, the existing parking lot is drained, yada, yada, note number 3. But anyway, it says an on-site stormwater detention, meeting Oakland County WRC standards for a 100-year storm is required for the new parking lot surface being proposed at this time. But at the end of the day, so we will need to put some sort of detention, whether that is done through the pipes that we're adding and through the existing pipes, or whether we need to extend a few additional ones underneath the parking lot. We can get that to work, is the bottom line. It's just, again, it's cost.
that's a cost. If you take a whiteboard over here and start putting these costs up, you'll determine on whether or not you need 95 parking spots or not. Because when this comes out at $35,000, and then curbing comes out at $125,000, then you tell, oh, maybe we don't need 95 spots paved. We only need what we have out here. And then you don't have to do that.
And I know that you had a budget, I think Lynn had actually received some quotes from contractors to resurface the existing parking lot. So that was the original, and then it kind of expanded beyond that. And before it just starts to snowball out of control, I'm the kind who just wants to get with you guys and make sure you're comfortable with it before we proceed, and all of a sudden you're $100,000 over budget and, you know, looking at Jim Sharp going, what the hell did you do? So that's all.
So Jim, there's been a lot of improvements in technologies with, I want to call it impervious parking lots. Anything that can apply here, like maybe sections of it that might be helpful at all, or no?
In the design plans, we did have leaching basins. You know, we're gonna try to take advantage of the soil, so they're basically, it's a catch basin with an open bottom, so the water can go through there. And we're also proposing to use the pipe that's perforated pipe, so then any water that get into there can also, you know, leach out into the soils in order to minimize the amount of that. As far as the pervious pavements go, it's a lot more expensive. I mean, I have done them.
No, that's right.
But it's
a lot more
it's a rough surface, just so you know, because obviously the water has to percolate down through the actual asphalt surface itself, so it's not as tight an asphalt mix. I don't know if that would be good, seeing as how you have vehicles driving on it all the time,
the
you know,
durability
turning
is
in
probably
circles
right.
and so forth, you know.
So generally, these are all addressable points that you're aware of, and we can respond. The only thing we need to give you is, do we prefer a retention pond? Or if that's feasible, how many spots would you need to take off the total? Or if we can do it, as you say, using our drainage plan and that soils are right and we can get it underground to their satisfaction?
Correct.
Any thoughts on that? I think we just should give Jim authorization to do the most efficient and cost-effective
Right.
way to do that. Okay.
How would I get a good quote for curbing? Do you have a contractor that?
Your paving contractor.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Just
gonna be
for
around
asphalt?
probably $25 or $30 a foot.
Okay.
You got about 800 feet out here, so that's,
So
what's that?
asphalt will do curbs? Is it curbs cement or curbs?
Curbs are the concrete
Right, they have to be the
around
concrete.
the perimeter of the site.
Yeah,
Would
that's,
asphalt people do concrete also, or?
Birmingham Seal Coat
they
does.
usually
Okay.
have a contractor if they don't do it
They
in-house.
do their own concrete.
Oh, they do, okay.
But roughly it's gonna be, I think that's around $30,000 for you. I mean, 800
Oh, okay, you kind of had an idea.
800 at about $25 or $30 a foot, you know, it's gonna be in that $25,000 range right there for the curbing.
Okay.
And And so that brings us to sidewalks.
Well, before we lose the curbing, has anyone around here done a parking lot rebuild in addition? Loom?
Yeah, TKMS, it just.
big
TKMS, read
one.
theirs, there's no curbing.
No curb there.
Well, see, here's where I'm going with this.
Right.
If your neighbors didn't do it, why are you making us do it?
Right.
We're a nonprofit, we're here to provide a service. A profitable company didn't have to do it, a marijuana company didn't have to do it. Why are you making us do it? Now, there's an argument for that curbing keeps water on your property. A good grading plan that takes the water and gets it there, keeps it in here. A curb also keeps you from going through the fence. So there's reasons you have to come up with to not do a curb. Number one, TKMS. What big truck's gonna stop by a curb? None. So you have a good possible fight here. So
Well, I think we'll have to curb by the building just for safety
those
purposes.
are curb blocks they're recommending there. I'm talking about a curb around the whole parking lot.
Yeah,
The
well,
perimeter.
Yeah, so
I'm in agreement. If we can leverage that, using their past history,
Worth a try.
recent history for the perimeter curbing, I think we should make that argument. I also think
help
the
you.
same could apply to the sidewalks, because if they want, we can stipulate and agree that if there is a sidewalk connection to be made, we'll make that connection. But until there's a sidewalk on either side, we have a sidewalk to nowhere.
Joe's letter indicated that it's
That
been
was-
history that it's not on the west side of Glassby, that you can petition to not have that done. So the things you're petitioning to not have it done have a reason. The safety path is on the east side of Glassby. There is no sidewalk on the west side of Glassby. So we'd like to have forgiveness for not putting that in, number one. Number two, you look across the street, there's no curbing on many of the industries around here because they maintain their water collection. A new build TKMS parking lot does, check it out, make sure, take a picture of it to verify with them that shows they don't have curbing. You can fight for, or request that through the village planner. Each one of these has to have a story told. They just don't say, well, we don't want to do it. No, we don't care to do it based on the history of your approvals for other businesses in the area.
Is that something that I would like draft up, or how would I?
Yeah, I could assist you with that, but I think it needs to come from the applicant.
From the applicant.
Right.
It needs to come from NODA as a request to Joe Medor, saying, you know, we've received your letters, we are
You're gonna be our lawyer.
requesting
Wish I was
that
40 years younger.
these variances, or whatever you want to call them, be granted. Because I don't want to submit the plans, you know, with or without.
No.
And they take.
You have to
they-
respond
They take
to
a long
these.
time to review their plans in the village, so we're just kind of wasting time. I'm thinking that if we can get a letter over to Joe quickly, maybe he can respond. And then we
It's
can
gotta
get the
go to
plans
committee
right back in.
first. Yeah.
So taking Jim's letter and using it as an outline, the village planner, you have to have a note that, why are you asking for additional parking? You have to be careful on how you word that. You can't say, well, projected growth. You can't say, we are gonna start leasing out half of the building to a manufacturing company. You need the room to turn around. You need the area for possible public parking during events in the DDA area. You gotta give them something to go after. Just can't say because we can. The second comment would require a landscape plan. Well, you're putting in an asphalt sea out back. Why aren't you doing any landscaping? Well, what did DKMS do? This is an industrial area. Did they do any landscaping? Is there screening between your buildings? Those have to be addressed. No, you share a parking lot driveway with your neighbor. You have to give them reasons on why you're not doing it, not because we don't want to do it.
I think that even the site plan requiring a off-street loading zone for deliveries, I don't see that out there for anybody else. Am I wrong?
Well, yes, you do. They have truck wells identified in many of these buildings. they may turn around in the street and back into the truck well, but a loading zone is that truck well. So if your leaseor is out back having a semi, you have to have an area on your site plan identified as, this is the loading zone. No one's parking here, no one's coming here putting dumpsters. This is where the trucks get unloaded. It's clearly identified on the plan.
I think we can accommodate that one out back somewhere. We can figure
A
that out.
photometric plan, are you adding or changing lights on the outside of the building?
We haven't, but I wonder if we should have backlight, lights in that. What do you-
At the
If you're
island we
doing,
do, don't we?
this is what I mentioned to you
Right.
about 6 months ago.
Right.
If you're doing a full site plan, every single thing is looked at.
Sure.
You don't have a light plan on your building, it requires one in your site plan now.
Right.
So now Jim has to do a photometrics. Are you putting lights on the building? Do you need lights on the building? I just heard you say, yes, we do. Now, those lights have to be on the back, but they can only put so many lumens off of the property, and you can, if you put some on this side, so many, at so many feet, he has to develop that plan for us.
Be shielded.
Yes.
Do you think that we should have, if we do that back area, that we should have poles with lights in that back parking lot? And I don't know, I'm just
No.
Well,
wondering.
what about the gas?
Well, we need some type of light, they said non-explosive light or some,
They're not, but they're not typically area lighting, or are they? You know, if, on the gas station area.
Well, that's part of the photometric plan.
Yeah.
Where you
Well,
are putting lights is what they want to know.
Okay.
So
Put
that
on the building and then in the corners to
If
light
you-
up the whole parking lot? Are you just gonna
It-
put a pole over the fueling
you
fueling
can put
island area?
lights anywhere as long as the photometric plan shows that you're not bleeding light off of the property into somebody else's
Got it.
eyes.
Okay. What does the board think as far as, do you think of like a pole by the fueling areas?
Who does the photometrics for you, Jimmy?
I think Lynn has a contact.
I do, because I work with that LED lighting company, so we use that, so I definitely have a contact with that person, so.
You're gonna have to choose where you want lights.
okay.
I heard pole lights in the parking lot, I'm just saying. I heard a light at the gas pump, and then I heard somebody say a light on the back of the building. So yes, you are gonna need a photometric plan.
Okay,
I would.
so I'll start
look-
that process.
I would look to try to keep the parking lot as open as possible and have that lighting be not in the center of the parking lot, but on the perimeter. But that photo metric plan would be the one that's going to help decide that.
Joe warns you in your letter that, where did it go? He tells you that just don't come to me and say you don't want to do a landscape plan because you're adding parking lot and you want to put snow there. Because then they'll tell you to get snow and salt resistant plants planted there. They want something planted.
So what do you suggest with that?
It's hard for me to suggest that you spend money on plants, but I don't know what's back there.
Okay. Hey, Chris.
Then we note
Hi,
that
Chris.
Mr. Barnett is here,
Oh, sure.
525.
The next one was the sidewalk, and you're gonna address that in the letter. The reason for your additional parking, you require a landscape plan. Who's your landscape engineer? Or landscape architect?
Well, we use Brett Landscaping, that did the front, would he?
Is he a certified
Do you have to be a certified?
landscape engineer?
They want to see a landscape architect. I've gotten away with it in the village though, without not being a certified landscape architect. So maybe Brett Landscaping.
In the township, you'll have one that's stamped. Now you get to the village engineer, they may require a detention pond.
We'll run the calculations and see where it comes in at, as far as some additional pipes underground.
To Mike's comment on the curb along the building, you know, it's a requirement. They don't want you driving through your building.
I think they would just ask for bumper blocks or something.
Bumper blocks,
Yeah.
exactly. And the photometric.
Now, going back to the photometric, it's probably Lynn and Jim, and your supplier would probably have the authority to lay it out right, else it would be part, we shouldn't get involved with it, you and
Right,
Jim
okay.
should.
Hey, wherever you need a light,
Where you
Yeah.
need a light, you
put
need
your
a
light there and then find out how it works out in your photometrics.
There you go.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly.
So I guess we're authorizing Lynn to proceed to address these with the help of the lighting and our engineer, Jim Sharp, and landscaping, which you and Lynn can work out.
Sure.
What would be
Okay.
adequate to meet the village's requirements. Maybe a conversation with